Now on the APEC VIP hotline, cutting-edge training for the serious athlete, apecgo.com. Joining us now, the legendary voice of the Texas Aggies, Dave South. How you doing, Dave?
The best it's ever been. How are you doing?
Doing great, thank you. Hey, I got to ask you, first of all, before we get to this weekend's ball game, give me an idea from your perspective of the difference it's made in Aggie land amongst the fans with the A&M moving into the Southeastern Conference.
Well, lots of excitement here, and it was welcomed with open arms by our fans. And I go back to the day we became an official member, actually the day after we became official member of the SEC, which was this July 1st, but that was a Sunday, and so we didn't hold any activities that day. And then we went to July the 2nd at 10 o'clock in the morning, had a flag-raising ceremony where we raised the flags of all the schools of the SEC over by our indoor track. And again, at 10 o'clock on a work day, we had about 400 to 500 people out there to watch that flag-raising. And so that gives you an idea then about the excitement that we have about the move to the SEC, and it has been great. We sold out all of our season tickets for the first time in school history.
Wow!
We've had packed houses, all of our home games to this point. And this weekend against LSU, it's sold out early. We have no tickets remaining for that. So the excitement and the way we have played, especially last Saturday night when we had that shootout with Louisiana Tech, and then prior to that, another road game when we played at Oxford against Ole Miss and had to come back and win that thing after being down by 10 points. So anyway, lots of momentum going right now here for Kevin Sumlin and the A&M football team.
Yeah, no question about that. And one of the things, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but from my perspective, it seems to have raised the national attention on A&M. You see a lot more of your ball games on national television these days, and that may be because of the great start as well. But just the national profile of A&M is a lot larger right now than it's been in a while.
Well, the SEC has a great television contract, and they are negotiating now with a new one with the addition of Missouri and Texas A&M having been added to the SEC. If you watch SEC games on TV, you see that the SEC brand is there along with ESPN or ABC or CBS, whoever is televising the game. So our brand is there, brand awareness with this conference is unbelievable. All of our games will be on television. Of course, being a radio guy, I still like the radio. But,
sure.
Every game will be on TV, and you're right. The national exposure has been unbelievable. We had game day here. Every time out, this week we'll go at early in the morning at 11 o'clock. We'll start our fan zone here on campus at about 8 o'clock that morning, and the place will be packed. I'm sure a lot of the LSU fans will start arriving here on Friday evening to take in midnight yell and everything else that goes on. So anyway, you're right. The exposure has been just unbelievable. I don't know if you could put a dollar figure on it, but if you did, it would likely be in the millions.
Dave South, the voice of the Texas Aggies on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM. Now, for us older guys, we remember LSU and A&M. That was every year for years, and then the series went away, I guess, early 90s.
Yeah, it did.
And it always seemed like, and correct me again if I'm wrong, but it always seemed like one team was good and one team was down when the two teams played. It was very rarely that you had both teams really riding high when they played in that game back in those days.
Yeah, for the longest time they were all played over in Baton Rouge, and then finally we started the series where it went home and home, and A&M started winning. We were winning those games every year. And we had 2 years left on a contract at that point in time, and they asked to be excused from those last 2 years, which they were. And we didn't play them again, of course, obviously, until we caught them there in the Cotton Bowl. But it was a great series, but obviously one-sided for the longest time because we played everything over there. And now playing home and home, we like that a lot better. It kind of equals things out.
I know for the longest time when they split up the divisions in the SEC and Arkansas came in, the SEC tried really hard to make the LSU-Arkansas game the rivalry game. But this is much more natural rivalry, don't you think, A&M and LSU?
Well, since it borders almost the entire, I guess except for a little bit of Arkansas out there, the entire eastern state line of Texas, I would think so. Even though we signed to play Arkansas before the SEC, we started playing Arkansas again, scheduling that series at Cowboy Stadium there in Arlington. But And you're right. They couldn't quite figure out. I think the Arkansas people and LSU people thought that that would be a rivalry, but it never really developed, and they never quite understood that. And now I think that there's a lot of talk about this becoming the rivalry for Texas A&M, but only time will tell us there whether it could be LSU or it could be Arkansas. But obviously, the close proximity. We have a lot of Louisiana players on our team. We recruit over there. I think we've got some commitments right now from Louisiana. So anyway, it's going to be interesting. I think there's even been somebody talking about us playing LSU on Thanksgiving, or whether that ever comes to pass, I have no idea, because we still have not seen the 2013 schedule for the SEC. That's not been released. And the schedule this year, by the way, does not reflect what we might see next year. We got a bump in the road here as far as our schedule is concerned, and for the first time that I think everybody went back and we never found it, but some of the older records aren't really that good. We're playing 3 road games in a row.
Right.
And we're in a period right now where we're playing 6 games because of Louisiana Tech being moved to the 13th of October from the 30th of August. Ended up having our open date disappear, so we played them last Saturday night to make the game up from the 30th. So we're playing 5 of 6 games on the road, and the one we're getting at home is against number 6 LSU. So I don't know if you get a break there or not.
Welcome to the SEC, huh?
Yeah.
All right. You get to see this kid every week. From your perspective, give me your take on Johnny Manziel.
As each game has gone by, he has just gotten better. He is a competitor, and was interesting because I don't think projected him to be the starting quarterback, even though the coach never said. I thought Showers looked better in the spring game, and then he had a better spring than what Johnny did. The guy that used to play a couple of years here at Texas A&M, Ken Hall, the Sugarland Express. Ken lives down in Fredericksburg, not too far from Kerrville, and he saw Johnny play, I think, just about every high school game at Kerrville that he performed in. And he told a friend of mine, he said, "You watch." He said, "I know that Manziel coming out of spring wasn't the choice of a lot of the fans, and he said, you watch, he will be the starting quarterback when that first game rolls around against Louisiana Tech on the 30th of August." And he was right. He said that he saw that kid play, and he said he is something else. He's quite the talent. And as time's gone by, as each game's gone by, he's starting to recognize defensive alignments. He's starting to find his secondary guys, and he's hard to defense because, and then he just have no idea what he's going to do. If you flush him out of the pocket, you've probably made a mistake. And he's also got this sense because there's been about 3 or 4 times, like for instance this past Saturday night, he went right up to the line of scrimmage, and I guess he has a feel for that, and then threw the ball. He drew a little crowd, and he found a wide-open guy. But he's done that where he's run up to the line of scrimmage, and then before he crosses, he throws the pass. So he reminds a lot of us, of course, of Bucky Richardson, who played here in the late 80s and early 90s, even though I think, and Bucky would probably tell you this, still not criticizing Bucky, because he did make himself a better passer. But Manziel can throw the ball a lot better than what Bucky did. But, and so anyway, good passer, good runner. And he's got a lot of experience around him. He's got a great offensive line in front of him, and that helps him a whole lot as well.
All right. A lot of folks, a lot of the Aggies I talk to say, boy, if we had just had that Louisiana Tech game before the Florida game, you think you would have seen a different outcome. How do you feel about that?
You know, I feel the same way. I think you know a lot more about your team after the first game. And R.C. Slocum used to say this all the time, that you make your the greatest improvement between first game and second game. And I do feel that way. Now, they had a game under their belt. They had played Bowling Green. We really wanted to play that game on that Thursday night. Florida, of course, would have played Bowling Green on the Saturday. But the Louisiana Tech people made the decision because we weren't sure what Hurricane Isaac was going to do, and that was the best decision, I feel. But if we'd had a chance to play that game, I would like to. I'd like to have do-overs. We don't get do-overs, to see how we would have done with getting some of the kinks worked out and having a better understanding of how the offense works and how the defense works. That was a 20-17 ball game, and we didn't score in the second half. So, yeah, I wish, but we'll never know.
All right, so this week you get the LSU defense. We know LSU's not quite as good as everybody thought they'd be at the beginning of the season. A&M obviously a lot better than people thought they might be at the beginning of the season. What are you expecting Saturday?
Well, I agree with what I saw the Les Miles press conference from yesterday over in Baton Rouge, and I agree with one of the things he said, in that this will be, we have not seen a defense to this point in the season that is as quick and fast as LSU's defense is. So that'll be an aspect of it that all of us will be watching closely as that game starts to unfold, their defense against Johnny Manziel and the Texas A&M offense. We were without about 4 guys in the secondary against Louisiana Tech, and I think we get all 4 of those guys back. Our press conference is coming up here at noon today, so may find out then. 2 of the guys were suspended for breaking team rules, and they were suspended back for the Louisiana Tech game, and so they kept them out of this past Louisiana Tech game. So it was on the 30th, but they moved it back to the 13th of October. Had one guy that's a little banged up, but I think he is back, and another guy that's banged up, and I think he has the potential to be back. So we ought to be stronger in the secondary. We were doing makeshift stuff in that game against Louisiana Tech. Sean Porter, who's one of our outside linebackers, who was actually at one time back in the safety position. I think he's playing a strong safety. So we were making all sorts of little adjustments in that game. But anyway, I'm anxious to see it. I really want to see Johnny operate against a defense as quick and talented as LSU's. I do like the fact that we play at home. We've been on the road for the last 2 weeks, and I think our team is going to be happy to get back home and play in front of a packed house, because I do believe that it's the greatest home field advantage in college football is Kyle Field, and they'll be hanging from the light standards out here on Saturday.
It will be a zoo. Dave, thank you so much for coming on with us. We really do appreciate it, and we're glad you're having a good time calling Aggie football this year.
I appreciate you having me on.
Thanks very much. Dave South, the voice of the Texas Aggies on Bryan Houston Sports Radio Live on 99.3 Talk FM.